Good evening, Jimba. How are you today? Yes, they did. And you see, when these things happen again and again, you get to a point when you just cannot but sympathize with the victims and then probably just sit back and wonder when the next set of victims will be and where. Jimba, I think we've been in the trenches, if I could use that term, together for the past 12 years. And if anyone could do a compendium of my programs on the relevant television channels and radio channels, you discover that there is nothing new that is happening today that we had not dwelt upon 8, 10 years ago. So you see a situation where, if you ask me, I will say, as far as terrorism and abductions is concerned, our National Assembly is not doing enough. Our National Assembly is willy nilly. Yes. You may have observed I do not frequent television stations and radio stations anymore. It's because there is really nothing to say or talk about anymore that we have not exhausted or dwelt upon. Trust me, just try to do a compendium of all my outings or my clips, and you find out that we have spoken about every single type of problem you are seeing today. It's not new. But where is the challenge? Where is the lapse? Where is that place, that gray area, that loophole where we seem to be losing so much traction and gravitas, both our political and our military resources? If you ask me, not getting the required impact or results. Where is that? It's simple. You see, if expenses must meet expectations, if the Northeast, if terrorism, if banditry, if kidnappings and abductions must stop becoming cash cow, then our National Assembly will have to sit up. They are not. The impression the world, I'm not even going to talk about Nigerian citizens now, I'm talking about the world. Let's take an outside in perspective. Let's assume we're outside and we're looking inside. That outside in perspective will draw a willy nilly impression of our National Assembly as far as national security is concerned. The reason being, at the National Assembly level, I know there are committees, but expectations are not being matched by expenditure. No amount of verbiages, no amount of high powered delegations, no amount of visits, condolence visits, none can make sense to an outsider looking inside if your expectations are not matching the expenditures that are being incurred. These expenditures will include financial, technical, logistic assistance that is being pulled into resolving the situation in form of aids. And they're all going in and beginning to look like sunk costs. If you have been into project management like I do, sunk costs are just like pouring water in a basket. They're gone, they're irredeemable. And the result has not been achieved. So here's the thing. Our National Assembly, I'll be repeating this for I have forgotten the how many number of times, must begin to ask questions. I have said it variously or on various occasions with you in your former role on your former media station. I have said it that a politician is not a general, so he shouldn't even try to be one. But here's the thing, you could bring a general up, a service chief, whichever of the relevant nomenclatures you want to work with, and put a menu of challenges before him. And in all fairness to our generals, allow him to choose the ones he can solve and give you time frames and also give you what I call uh, performance indicators so that you could judge him.
Absolutely.
So here's a general, in all fairness, who is allowed to choose his own problems that he can solve, and he's going to write his own scripts. Okay, and when you give him his own scripts to write, he's going to tell you, okay, these are the problems I can solve immediately. These are the ones we need in the long term to solve, and these are the ones that can be solved mid-term. And for these ones that can be solved immediately, this is what we can do, and this is how much we will expect or it will cost to be done. It's simple. So the politician who is not a general cannot possibly tell the man what to do, but the general will tell you what he has to do, how he intends to do it, how much time he needs, and how much resources he will require. You could give him a markup as legislator or as the executive concerned and say, okay, if you are leading 100, let me give you a 20% markup. You go with 120. If you're
Mm.
asking me for XYZ months, I will give you 20% plus XYZ months for contingency. And trust me, you don't come back and tell me all the money was spent and you have changed the narrative. No, sir. No, sir. That's the only way we can now go.
There weren't any narratives that were changed. My apologies. Were there narratives changed in this instance? Because, I mean, if we have to.
That's it.
With the US President Donald Trump and his position of Nigeria being a country of particular interest, and this abduction now happening, reminiscent of the Chibok incidents, do you think that this is perhaps a bait to stir the waters again, get the attention of the US in our Nigerian security challenges?
Looking from the outside in again, because if you really want to get an unbiased and undiluted and unemotional, all those nuances and absurdities you hear people throwing up to defend our unfortunate and very, very tragic situation we found ourselves in. You got to first of all step right outside. Assume you were a foreigner, assume you were even Donald Trump, and you look in. That way, you will be closer to a dispassionate appreciation of what is on ground. Any true son of Nigeria should be ashamed of being a Nigerian based on what we are seeing today. Anyone you see trying to couch this unfortunate situation in in fact in a show of perversity, because you have to be a pervert to actually want to describe what we are going through decently. So here's the thing. There is no way you can take an outside look in and tell me things are going on well and tell me that you don't want to influence certain things. And let me assure you, in situations like this, there will always be a third force. Those third forces I'm talking about, they come negative and positive. There are people who will seek to steer the hornet's nest so they can get what they want out of the situation. And whom do we have to blame for this? We have our reckless politicians. They cooked this meal we cannot seem to eat. So we cannot continue to say, let's blame him or let's not blame him. We all are in this situation and we owe it all to ourselves. Those of us who collected bread and rice and what have you, and oil and money to vote in this kind of people in the last so many years that have brought us to this ugly situation. This is your bread and your milk and your rice we're about to eat. So here's the thing. If a Donald Trump sits wherever he is and from the outside in and says, you know what? If we've given them so much and they've not given us this much, let's now use this opportunity to get in there and get even with those who have collected our monies and our aids. And rather than get the armed forces on its feet and ready for action, those people have only grown bigger around the waist. Then why not? So that is why I'm putting it back on at the feet of the National Assembly. Our politicians have work to do. It's not about mandates, about sitting on or standing or kneeling on mandates. That's all not the issue right now. Okay? These people have to get serious about being legislators. And they have to sit down and say, you know what? This is what we want. Come and tell us how best you can do it. Let me give you one example I've always given, which Nigerians can relate with. Football. We go bring our technical advisor. I don't follow football, so I don't know too much about it. But I know that when you bring him in, you put your menu of challenges in front of him, and you tell him what you want to do and where you want to go, and he tells you how he intends to do it. He charges you a fee. He can't go for that tournament and come and tell me you have spent our money. We didn't make even the quarterfinals, and you are. No, it's not about stories. Put your mouth where your money is. Mr. General, what can you do? Which ones can you solve? Immediate, mid, and long term. What is your what give me a roadmap? Where do you see us in the next 3 months? Which of the problems can we take off your plate in the next 4 months? How do you intend to do it? What if you asked me, I will give you a roadmap. And of course, if I needed 2 months, I could give myself a markup of 20% and tell you I needed, you know, 2.25 months. Okay. And then you will add your own 20%. Look, listen, I mean, Jimba, you've taken your clothes to a smart tailor before, haven't you? If you have a smart tailor, he will tell you he was going to do a 2 weeks job in 3 weeks. Then he will bring it to you in 1 week and you'll be impressed. You've gone to a shop before, they say, buy two, get one free, bug off. My brother, you're not getting one, no free. It's all been planned. That one that you're getting free has actually been integrated into the price of two. It's not rocket science. But as I told you, I don't know what to call it. Is it the violence sector or the bloodshed sector now in Nigeria has become a cash cow? Nobody wants it to end so that the votes keep coming in and the funds keep being released. Now, part of the people who are donating these funds have made us a country of particular concern. And they want to now come out here and start smoking out those who have fed fat on their funds and have not solved any problem. And they are using a cocktail of reasons as justification for coming. And we are getting excited about what? When we gave them the cracks in the walls within which to enter our space. So our
The story,
legislators
the
have
story
had
of the
to
lizard, the story of the lizard. That's the story of the lizards entering the cracked wall.
exactly. But who made the walls crack? Who cracked the wall? The lizard didn't crack the wall. They didn't crack the wall. These cracks have been there. I recall as far back as
Uh,
20.
uh, this is the point. My apologies again. This is the point we are at right now. There is a list of terrorism financiers that is out there. That's about 400 names on it. Um, some politicians in Nigeria have, taken to their heels. Some of them have flown out of Nigeria completely. And how do we begin to trace this list and follow it judiciously with the aim of arresting those names there? Nigeria, the Nigerian government, is true to itself to be able to go after these guys. Because you know what they say here in Nigeria, when you try to fight corruption or terrorism, terrorism or corruption will fight you back.
That's the excuse. That's the excuse. You want to, if corruption is fighting back, so what? You expect corruption to clap for you and cooperate? No, you don't. So here's the thing. Those 400 names, a lot of simple-minded people will think those 400 names are just names of some Muslims or for people from any particular calling or religion. No, no. You are going to be shocked when those names start being called. You're going to find traditional rulers possibly there. You will possibly find clerics from the two Abrahamic faiths there. You will possibly even find generals there. What a lot of people do not know, and what I can tell you as a cybersecurity analyst, is listen, the internet knows no bounds, neither does the cyberspace. The internet is like one giant global cobweb. If you touch a cobweb at any point, it resonates at all points. No calls, no calls. All the algorithms you are talking about, so long as those algorithms were written by somebody, you may just have levels of access. So nobody should sit down and think his calls are so warped that they cannot be eavesdropped upon or listened to by any level of these clearances I've spoken about. If you are into cybersecurity, I'm sure you will know what the dark web is all about and what the deep web is all about. I'm talking of in terms of what ordinary people will understand. Just look at a cobweb. Once an insect hits any part of that cobweb, the spider is instantly alerted. That's what the internet and the cyberspace is to us today on the planet. It covers every single interspace of our existence. So here's the thing. The more our leaders become a bit more circumspect and honest, the better. People sit down and they don't see beyond their constituencies. No, the entire world can take a look into your constituency and see everything, including what you think is hidden. So, back to where we were coming from and what you are saying. What is happening today in this country about that 400 people list is actually a simple-minded approach to that list. There is even more than the 400. Let me tell you something. Once upon a time in Benue State, there was a young man called Tewase Akwaza. Most people don't know him
Or
as
the Ghana guy.
the Ghana guy. Most people know him as Ghana. What was he doing? He was being used. He was a son of Benue State, a thief boy. He was being used by politicians and even clerics to wage the kind of war bandits, herdsmen are doing in the water today. Local champions, local traditional principalities, politicians were using Ghana to wield war in their fiefdoms. And when Ghana passed on, What happened? The herdsmen took over. Those who were spurring Ghana on with cash money, to go and take out whom you could call their enemies. They started using herdsmen. But you see, those herdsmen you see and bandits, they have what you call acquisitive tendencies. When you pay them to do a job, they do the job and they take the money and take the quarry or the trophy. Historically, if you go back and go and read about the Ilori Emirate, the Afonjas and the Aules, they could not resolve quarrels among themselves. They brought in the Fulanis, and the Fulanis helped them to resolve the quarrel and kept the Emirate. That's why you have the House of Surkaneli today. And it's like that in other areas where you have Emirates. So, what am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say is when we are talking about that list of 400, please, Nigerians should understand something. Don't let anybody play your minds on religion and ethnicity and what have you. No. People from, don't forget, if it's about religion, the United Arab Emirates, which is a Muslim country, gave us the list. So if you are looking at it through the eyes of religion alone, you're not going to see anything. Agreed. The Christians have cried and have called it a genocide. You see, in my place, we say kosei. In another place, they say akara. What the Christians are calling it is not going to be an issue. What it is, it's bloodshed. Whether you call it genocide, whether you call it massacre, whether you call it pogrom, whether you call it ethnic cleansing, whether you call it xenophobia, you made all those ones are semantics. Nobody should be at ease with people being killed, the volume in which they are being killed. I saw a clip when that church was attacked in Kwara State, correct? Yes, Kwara State now, not Kogi, or is it Kogi State? It's Kwara State.
In Kwara State, absolutely.
Listen. You see, the rebel in me went haywire when I watched that clip. I saw an elderly woman; she couldn't even run. I saw a little child with an orange jumper. That child was, come on. And some people want to sit down and tell me, no, it's not genocide. Yes, it's genocide. No, it's not. Come on, I'm irritated just thinking about it. So if we really want to get our act together, we better sit down and put this thing where it belongs, or else somebody will come from somewhere and do it for us. It's that simple. Nobody should have any misgivings about what Trump wants to do. If you
Before we get
don't
to that
put
point, Captain, this is what Mr. President just did this evening. He has ordered that I think the course to release Kebbi State. We've seen this kind of move before. Impact do you think that this particular one will have in trying to perhaps bring back the Kebbi girls home?
I've seen these things before, marching orders, relocate to here and there. All those are verbiages. I've just said you pencil it down. Mr. General, I want Gimba Umar. Mr. General, I want Gimba Umar alive. I want to shake hands with Gimba Umar. What resources do you need time-wise, logistics-wise, and every other thing-wise? You give me your table of requirements. I'll give you a 20% markup, and you don't come back here with a story. Can you do it or not, Mr. General? If you cannot do it, I'll respect you for being forthright and honest and let you go. But I will find the general who will deliver. If I was the commander in chief, that's how I'm going to be talking to my generals. I'll give you heaven and earth and resources if I have to, but you must match my expenses with expectation, not stories. High powered delegations, move your office to the northeast. I've seen the late President Muhammadu Buhari is told a certain security chieftain to move to a place where there was a crisis, and he didn't even go. All those are verbiages. I can second guess what our leaders will do after every tragic event. They will send high-powered delegations. They will issue strong denouncement, or how do they call it now? Condemnation, sorry. Yeah, we know all these things don't, no, no, sir. If you want to drive results, then you have to drive results. And how do you drive results? Is by ensuring those who are in position to do what needs to be done are provided for, but they will also give you their timelines. They will give you their performance indicators. And when they have done that, you will match it with the resources they require, probably even with a markup magnanimously. The commander-in-chief can give you even double the time you require. You wrote your scripts. You told him what you can do. You told him when you can do it. You told him what it will cost to do it. Then do it. That's all.
Um, general that was killed.
Ah,
Use use a general in that light and publish it to the world. It's a major, major source of concern for any sovereign country that has an army. I don't even know because I'm short of questions even to ask. What 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 are these guys trying to portray?
just mentioning Brigadier General Uba. I'm already angry. Okay, I'm very angry, so I'm going to deliberately moderate my response to you here. Gimba, what has happened to General Uba is not just General Uba alone. It's every general who ever is, was, and will be in our armed forces, except, except we go all out for these people. They made a statement and we have to respond. Let me assure you, if this was another country, not even off the African continent, within this African continent, I can tell you countries where from that moment that video was released, that would have been the longest day for these bandits, wherever their two legs can take them to. But nothing is happening here. I recall being in the studio with you years back when I said these boys were getting bolder. They keep doing things that are bolder and even more audacious. Trust me, the next time these boys are going to do something, they're going to go beyond a brigadier general. If you don't understand me, sir, a brigadier general is the fourth highest rank in the Nigerian army. There are only three other ranks above a brigadier general, excepting that of a field marshal, which we exclusively reserve for the president. You have a general, you have a lieutenant general, you have a major general in descending order, then a brigadier general. And you see what those boys did to a brigadier general? Trust me, if this was some other serious African country, they will not break. This, those bandits, from that moment, would have been their longest day on earth, because night will never fall until we smoke every last one out. But then we are still waiting. How a brigadier general was even ambushed and taken so easily is another question. I cannot begin to imagine, as at today, what the battle complement of a brigadier general in transit should be, because it's sounding to me as if maybe he didn't have anything around. I'm saying so confidently because there are solutions I have preferred across all media of what we could have, and it's so cheap that we can go to Aba and build it if we don't have the money to buy it. But because that seemingly will take the cash out of the pockets of those who have made this business a cash cow, it never saw the light of day. I don't see how a brigadier general in my father's armed forces will be moving and cannot have 60 kilometers radius visibility of every stone that moves around him on 2025 Earth. It's a shame. I'm disappointed. And it's an insult to every general that ever was, presently is, and will be in our armed forces until we redeem ourselves. Even before our peers in other countries. This is a sore point. Oh my, oh my.
But Captain, wouldn't you be painting, I mean, this situation with just one brush across the board? Because we've not seen this kind of situation in a long time. This could be an isolated one, don't you think?
Well, let me tell you something, Gimba. If a member of a family, let me not even use a family, let's try to use corporate brands. Haven't you seen where an ambassador to a corporate brand is deroed because he carried on in a way that was inimical to whatever that brand he was ambassador to represents? A brigadier general is a flagship. I don't care which, look, I'm not painting it with one brush. I'm telling you what is there. Our fathers who wore those hallowed ranks won't feel good. Those who are wearing it now, our younger ones, our classmates, and our seniors, they can't feel good. Nor will the future ones. When somebody talks to a brigadier general 15 years later and say, look at you, some goat herders actually killed it. Listen, that it is in isolation. It's something that has never happened. Is the more reason why our response should also be unprecedented. Listen, I recalled, is it Idris Deby of Chad? Idris Itno Deby. You recall he fell in battle, didn't you? And his son took over. He made a statement. I recall that on look, some terrorists killed some of his men. And that day the commander-in-chief swung into battle. And I recall that video clip. My oh man. I'm sure those bandits will never try it again. That's how to make a statement. Or else, if you do not, whatever is left of the reckoning or the magnanimity of your status It's either completely eroded or is majorly eroded. So it's not about saying painting it with one brush. A general is a general from 1960 to date. It's a hallowed place. Not all of us who started off became generals. And nobody will just come and poo-poo on a general and expect that. No, no, come on, no, no. That's way under the belt.
What, as you said, the military, they have to redeem themselves on this one.
Yes, we have to.
You see through the optics, and you have the knowledge of the operations and how it works for several years. What can the military do uh, in a way that will suggest that their response sends out that message with a victory return?
I'll tell you what I'll do if I were in position or if I were to advise anyone. It won't be different from what Itno David did. You will have to you can't, definitely, we cannot spread ourselves all over the country. But what you normally do in this kind of situation is you set a God-fearing example with just one place. If I were in service and I was in position today, I'm going to trouble my commander-in-chief until he allows me. I'm going to isolate one place. And when I am done with that place, the rest won't be expecting me. They will be moving out. It's very possible. It can be done. But as I told you, the intrigues and the intricacies are such that looking from outside in, what you can only see is that this thing is a cash cow. And everybody is out to milk it properly. That's it. And that's why I came back to the National Assembly and said, bring in your brass hats, your security chieftains. Don't tell them what you want them to do. Just put the problems before them. Let them pick the ones they think they can solve within the immediate, mid, and distant periods. And then let them give you what? Their table of requirements. Provide those requirements. Provide the necessary time frames with even markups, if you like, generous markups. But let there be key performance indicators. Let there be benchmarks. If you spend half the money, I expect you to have gone so much. If you look, it's simple project management. You don't take a full tank of fuel and you are going to move from, say, Lekki to Ilorin, and then you just left Third Mainland Bridge and you are telling me you are half fuel gone. No, sir, it's not possible for you to use half tank from Lekki to Oronshoki, for example, except if you decided to use a scrappy car. Your carburetor consumption can be calculated from your odometer and the speed at which you are moving. So I know how many liters you use per kilometer. So I know how many kilometers you should have burned at half tank. The same thing happens when you are talking about an operation. If you want to know what a blueprint is, let me send you back in time. I have it somewhere in my archives, but I expect it will be online. The American magazine that is called Newsweek. I could remember as a cadet when the Desert Storm was on. If you remember Desert Storm and Desert Shield.
Yes, Operation Desert Storm. I think that was the first operation in Nigeria.
Beautiful. I saw Norman Schwarzkopf's road plan for battle. It was published there. The roadmap, sorry, not the road plan, the roadmap, where they wanted to be at what time, after how many days, what will be. It was there. It was there. It's not magic. It can be done. Any project manager will sit down and draw, they use a Gantt chart to do it. They use a Gantt chart. In the armed forces, we call it a forecast of events. At least I was young enough in the army to know what my commander's forecast of event for the coming year was. And as adjutant, I started working towards ensuring that I stood at least 1 month ahead of his forecast of events. So I had 30 days to play with. I never went to my commander with a story as the adjutant of my unit. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Do you think? Go ahead.
We need to get organized about being organized at every level. And it has to start with our lawmakers, because right now, looking from the outside in, Mr. Trump is getting the impression that they are willy-nilly. The resources keep coming and disappearing. Expectations and expenditure is not, expectations are not matching expenditure. That answer could go anyway, yes and no. But let me assure you that if my legislators can sit on what I've said, that intent must come. There is no way, there is no armed forces that will not take a cue from the body language of its bosses. Soldiers are very regimented, highly regimented. I can say so because I've been one. And you can, even if you took us to a dance hall, you will never see a subordinate outdance his boss. I'm talking of a real dance hall. It's a dancing competition. No, the cosmates can
Because
decide to.
I'm asking this.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm asking this because there was intel that these bandits or abductors were heading towards accommodation in that school in
The
Kebbi.
unfortunate,
I mean,
those unfortunate
if
babies.
an
Yes.
intel is available like that, why not act on it in time? Possibly even move the girls out of harm's way, just and then lay a siege. I'm just thinking normally. I don't know how the military intelligence and architecture would place.
I recall reading up that shortly after the intel was provided, I don't know how true it is, but that shortly after the intel was provided, the military unit around there just moved away. I don't know how true that is. But one thing I've always said and continue to iterate is this: intelligence is totally useless if the user or the handler is not intelligent. So here is the thing. In my very short career as an intelligence officer, depending on who we are giving intelligence to, we break it down so bad that all you need to do is to eat. Just imagine giving a child fish and you've taken all the bones and the tendons and all everything. You take out, the frills. So you just have the skirt. That I will tell you specifically what you should do. So there is no mistake. So where you see people who have been sworn to oath, a presidential oath to defend this country wherever by air, sea, or land, telling you they are waiting for clearance before they can swing into action, even when they hear gunshots and people crying, then you know it's pathetic. Honestly, it's pathetic.
Comfortable with all this rising insecurity and the comfortable to come out in if he can be out there, then we should feel comfortable and give him that kind of support. Do you think he's comfortable enough to step outside in public?
The way it is going, Gimba, I'm out here. He's in there. I don't know whether he's comfortable or not. But if I'm going to give you the optics, as I said, again, as an outsider looking in, I'll tell you that the way it is regionally, if I were to do you a security summary of all the geopolitical zones right now, security-wise, they are all orange. Orange. They are all waiting to just go blinking red. Yes. There is excitement. And when I say excitement, I'm not talking about positive excitement. People are looking up. People, you see, there is what you call, people are looking for a hero. You know, if you, the late, what's her name again? She sang this song, Hero. Go listen to the lyrics of her song. Ageless Mama, I can't remember her now. Her name is in my head. She passed on last year. She sang it. We don't need another.
Christian?
No. She's not a Nigerian musician. She's a Black American. Uh, I'll
Tina
tell you
Turner.
her. Tina Turner, exactly. Go listen to that song again. We all need another hero, someone to point our way home. But there is none. There is a vacuum, and it's growing heavier and it's growing heavier. I once said on a forum, a different forum, a media forum, that is not about coups. Coups are out of the window. Anybody who wants to plot a coup should better go back to 1965 or 1960. The most dangerous coup we should be avoiding now is civil disobedience. And there is this unspoken concurrency of what disdain that is spreading around. You know, it's spreading around. It's like Tinder. And you know how Tinder behaves. There's a point it gets red hot if you've cooked with your grandmom in the village before. There is a way the wood gets red hot and suddenly, boom, concurrently, all the fire just answers. So what is happening now is let's not walk towards civil disobedience. Civil disobedience, that's what is coming. When we speak like this, we make some people uncomfortable. But then if we don't put their toes to the fire, we will not be able to redeem this country. Civil disobedience is not something that you want to see, because if it happens, it will force the armed forces to come and do what I call the unexpected. I used to write for a certain media, print media before, way back 1995. I wrote, no, sorry, I said 95, sorry, 2005. I wrote for the Ikoyi Obalende Times, and I wrote one I titled Provoking the Unexpected. Let our politicians not provoke the unexpected. They seem to sit in their hallowed comfort zones and think it's only Nigeria where they are being seen. No, the world is one massive cybernet. Any event anywhere resonates everywhere. So my advice for our legislators ab initio, as I said from the beginning, is you have your work cut for you at the National Assembly. If you don't get it right, then don't expect any magic from the armed forces.
That's a good place to let it rest. I most sincerely thank you, Captain Aliyu Umar, retired, uh, the Blade. I like that part even more. For sharing your thoughts, of course, and giving us the insights
You're welcome.
through the lens. I couldn't think of a better person to talk to about this, but I believe some clarity has been made, and this is information that's just about everybody can use. Just come on our platform, subscribe, share this with someone, and we'll continue to do the best that we can, hoping that Nigeria will still remain united and a single entity with peace, tranquility, happiness, unity, and a sincerity of purpose for not only the army, but also our legislators. I am Gimba Umar, and thank you everyone for watching.